Hey physics, I wanted to make a video to walk you through this set of problems. Some of them are pretty easy and some of them are a bit more complex. So feel free to stop and pause this whenever you need to get your own writings down, and we'll just go through it all. So how many feet is 19 inches? This one should be pretty easy because we know that we're going to start with the unit that we have, 19 inches. And I always like to, actually let me do it this other way. Delete. We can actually just, when we're using text boxes, we can just like put it a line down and we know that there's an invisible vinculum or dividing line between the fractions between them. I always like to put that 1 underneath my first one just to hold the place, just so I'm, keeping it lined up just right, okay? So 19 inches. And then we're going to use our conversion factor. So remember, we're always going to put our, the one that we already have on the bottom and the one that we want on the top. Now that flips if we're trying to convert this one down here. But for a basic one like this, the one that we want is at the bottom and the one that we have, the one that we have is at the bottom and the one that we want is at the top. Always on the opposite side of that vinculum, okay? So there are 12 inches in 1 foot, and that's all we need to do there because we do 19 times 1 divided by 1 times 12. So this is essentially 19 divided by 12. If you want to think about it like this, we have canceled out inches and we are left with foot. So our answer here is going to be 19 divided by 12, which is 1.58, okay? Okay, 1.58. 0.58, and we always put the units. This is always important in science, but especially important in this unit where our focus is the units, right? 1.58 feet, sorry. Okay, there we go. How many centimeters are in 840 inches? Let me move myself over here. Okay, so same deal here. This is easy peasy. If you are feeling comfortable with this part and you want to skip to the harder parts, feel free to like fast forward, no big deal. 840 inches over 1. And there's always a space in between the number and the unit. Okay, so the unit that we want is going to be at the top, which is centimeters. And I happen to know that there are 2.54 centimeters per inch. And if we ever don't put the conversion factors in for you, like as far as like a key with the conversion factors, you're welcome to look it up online. The internet will know this. That's not cheating to look up a conversion factor. That's good practice to get the information that you need. So same thing here. We multiply across the top. 840 times 2.54. 840 times 2.54 is 2,133.6 centimeters, right? 2,133.6 centimeters. Now for both of these, I've been, like here, I included all the way to the hundredths place, even though I don't see the hundredths place there, just because that seems like a reasonable amount of numbers to have there. And same thing here. I went to the tenths place. Here we could have gone to the hundredths place. But as long as it's not like a crazy long number, that's fine. We'll see some numbers later where it's going to be more of a big deal to pick and choose how far you go, because you don't need to include like all, 10 tiny decimal places all the way out. You can just do the ones that are important. Okay. So how many miles is 5,400 inches? So this is a two-step problem, no big deal. Again, if you're feeling confident with this stuff, just skip past this part and go to the tricky stuff that you were stuck on. So 5,400 inches over 1. That's a really important step to make sure that things don't get like bumped around in ways that are not going to be helpful for you. Put that first conversion unit over 1, unless it's like miles per hour, then you're going to put miles on top and hour on the bottom, and then you'll be able to convert it that way. But when it's just a one level thing, just put a 1 underneath it to keep it organized. Okay, so I want to go from, I'm going to put my inches down here, that's what I'm trying to get rid of. And I want to go to feet. So let's do 1 foot has 12 inches. And then I know how to go from feet to miles. So I happen to know that there are 5,280 feet per 1 mile. And that gets us there. That's all we need there. Bloop, 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 bloop. 2 miles. And so we're going to do 5,400 times 1 times 1, which is really just 5,400, divided by 12 times 5,280. 12 times 5,280, 63,360. And then we're going to divide those. So this is going to end up being miles. Okay, so it's going to be 0. And so this is one, I don't need to write all of those numbers. In fact, this number actually might go on even farther than that. I don't know. But, like, I could call it 0.09 would be totally fine here. Okay? 0.09 miles. Yeah. Good things. Equals, okay. Next one. How many seconds are there in 16 weeks? Okay, so this is a few step problem. I would think it's like 3 or 4 steps, but it's not hard. It's just more steps. So 16 weeks over 1. So in 1 week, we're going to seconds, so we want to get smaller and smaller. There are 7 days. In 1 day, there are 24 hours. And if this is going too fast, just pause me for a second till you get your numbers written down. No big deal. In 1 hour, there are 60 minutes. And in 1 minute, there are 60 seconds. Okay? So again, multiply across the top, and on the bottom we have all ones, so that multiplying across the top is going to get us right where we need to be. 16 times 7 times 24 times 60 times 60. Let me go ahead and get my thing ready. That's just to hold the place. So 16 times 7 times 24 times 60 times 60. Okay, so even as I'm looking at this, I'm thinking about where my commas are going to be, and so saying it out loud helps me to remember the numbers. 9, so I see comma right there and comma right there. 9,676,800 seconds in 16 weeks. 9,676,800 seconds. Okay, so this one is where it gets more tricky, because this is where we have those multi-level conversions that are going on. We're going to go from yards per year to millimeters per day. This is looking at how far, when I say migrate, I mean like that lichen population is growing from one spot farther and farther out over the course of like 100 years. Okay? So So this population of lichens migrated 54 yards in 100 years. Okay, so we're going to say we want to get rid of yards. So we're going from yards to millimeters. And then we're going from years to days. Okay? So we'll do yards first, or distance first. So 1 yard is 3 feet. We're going to millimeters, so I'm going to keep going. So 1 foot is 12 inches. 1 inch is 2.54 centimeters. And 1 centimeter is 10 millimeters. Okay? So that takes care of our distances. What I like to do to keep myself organized is when I get to the unit that I want, I just circle it. I'm like, okay, that one's done. I got yards, feet, inches, centimeters, and I'm good with millimeters. So now I need to get this years down here turned into days. That's really just one step. So let's add that here. So since it's starting out on the bottom here, I need to put it on the top. Remember, we always put our things that we want to get rid of on the opposite side of the vinculum, that dividing line between the fractions. So in 1 year, there are 365 days. And that actually takes care of it for us, because now we are at millimeters per day. So I'm going to multiply across the top. 54 times 3 times 12 times 2.54 times 10 times 1. Sometimes I like to do the times 1 even though it doesn't do anything, just because it's there. 49,377.6. And when we have these dual conversions, I like to keep the units in there just to remind myself of what's going on. For me, that's confusing when it's a 1 level conversion, but when it's 2, like it really is like 49,377.6 millimeters in how many years? 100 times 365. Here's another trick. When you are multiplying things or dividing things by a number with some zeros after it, like a 100, 1,000, a 10, something like that, you can actually just bump the decimal point either forward or backwards. So 365 times 100 is going to give me 365 with 2 zeros after it, just like that 100 there. And that's how many millimeters it would go in that many years, right? But that's not really useful to us because that's just not very useful. So we're going to divide the top by the bottom, just like it is there. So divided by 36,500 years. Okay, so per day, that lichen is growing 1.35 millimeters, okay? .35 millimeters per day. Oh, sorry, so I wrote that wrong here. That is per day. I was like, yeah. Right, silly me. Yeah, so 1.35 millimeters per day. Okay, here is another one that is a multi-step one. It's got a lot going on. 1 milliliter of water. So we're looking at how much does water weigh in terms of milliliters and in terms of gallons. All right, so we're going from grams per milliliter to pounds per gallon. It's basically how much does it weigh in a tiny amount versus how much does it weigh in a large amount. And it's going to be